If you're thinking of changing out the rocker cover gaskets on your Honda Odyssey, you've come to the right place.
Hard bass.
Step 1, remove the plastic engine cover. Undo the 2 fasteners with a blade screw, turning counterclockwise a quarter turn. You're going to have 2 grommets in the back that you just have to snap up. Just pull it up like you're mad at it. Then remove the negative battery terminal. Let me show you the 5 or 6 connectors you're going to want to remove right off before you start turning any bolts. Here, here. You'll need to get to that one eventually. You have one over here. You have a hose you want to disconnect here. And you have this pipe right here you'll have to disconnect on both ends, both at the rocker cover. That's why you'll need to remove this connector to gain access to that. And you're going to disconnect it here and here so you can pull that out of the way. And then down here, it's really difficult to see. I'm going to try to put my finger on it. Right here, there's a hose down here you're going to have to disconnect here. And then you also have one here. So you want to grab these 2 wherever you can get them. This one on the bottom right here is probably going to be easiest to try to grab it there. And then the other hose, I probably would try to grab it over here. There's a connector right there, a little spring-loaded clamp. You want to disconnect that so that you're not struggling with it when you're trying to remove the intake off the vehicle. All these connectors have a little molded in plastic kind of a spring release, and you have to compress it and then pull it. That's how you remove it. You want to be careful, especially when the vehicle gets older, because the plastic becomes brittle. This one, I think the depression is, actually it's right here. You see that one right there? I'm going to push on this right here, and I should be able to get it to come right off. You kind of have to wiggle them as you go. That came off like real easy. This one over here, actually for whatever reason the factory had orange paint on it, which is nice, but that's what the little relief is. It comes off right there. You have a hidden one on this one. It's going to be down in here somewhere. Right. Why these are always so hard to get off. Squeeze. Okay, got that one. This one right down here, this one is a real jewel. And what you're going to have to do with this one, at least what I always have to do, is I grab a pair of curved tip pliers and I go in and I gently squeeze it on the outside like that. Easier said than done. And I'm going to squeeze it gently because you don't want to crack it. I don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, that's not too bad. And while I squeeze, I'm going to wiggle. And there you go. All right, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove this vent pipe so that I'm not struggling with it later. But in order to get down in here, I'm going to have to take this connector off. I'm just going to reach in and squeeze it, if it will allow it. It's a real joy. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's out of the way. Now what I want to do is come in here with these pliers and just take this off right here. And I just want to just ease it back like that. And then I'm going to pull this hose loose. I'm probably going to use the pliers to do that too. Lovely. See if I can crack it loose. Oh, that was easy. All right. Then I'm just going to pull that off and down like that. And then I can come over here on this one And this one doesn't have a lot of spring load on it, but I kind of try to move it out of the way. And I should be able to pull that off without a whole lot of trouble. At the same time. Oh yeah. I'm gonna have to struggle with these clamps down on the bottom of this throttle body. I'm gonna have to take both of the baby hoses off so I can get this larger one off up here, because the little hose underneath isn't giving me enough slack to pull this out. With the two cooling hoses disconnected from the bottom of the throttle body, this should help aid removal of the flexible rubber air inlet elbow, as well as removal of the intake manifold with the throttle body still connected. This will also save you using a gasket. Alright, and one thing we want to do before we start unbolting the intake, we're going to go ahead and remove these breather hoses. We got one on each bank. You just want to just pull that loose. It should come off pretty easy. There's one. We have a big one here, which I think is for the brake booster. Will be real nice to him. And I always use my pliers to crack these loose. That way you don't risk tearing the hose or hurting yourself when you pop it loose real quick. So I got that broke loose. I'm just going to grab it by the elbow and twist and turn as I get it to go back. It should come off pretty easy. Sometimes you can take this and work it as you go. There we go. We got him off, so he'll be out of the way. Okay, I'm just making one last sweep before I start turning some bolts. So I have a connector here, which I think is probably already disconnected, but it was just sitting on there. We want to get him out of the way. And then I have this one over here. We're going to pull him off. Pinch, wiggle, pinch and wiggle. Come on now, give me a bad time. Ah, there we go. Oh yeah, always a joy. Okay, I think that pretty well gets it. One thing I ended up doing before we're going to take this upper intake off, I absolutely could not get this pipe out of this airbox elbow without tearing it. I was so afraid that it was going to just rip this out. It just is not going to come out for some reason. So this vent pipe here, which ties into the rocker cover, that's going to come off, not a problem. I'll pull that out of the way like that, like we had it. But you can see here where I went ahead and disconnected a coolant pipe here. So this pipe is kind of a dual thing. It's got a coolant pipe crimped to the vent pipe. So I had to disconnect another hose here so that when I undo this band clamp here, I'll be able to just pull this up out of the way and just leave this tube attached here so we don't have any problems damaging that. I went ahead and of course, I think this is a throttle position sensor that's disconnected. And then I'm just going to very gently lift this harness out. This airbox elbow is really dry. I'm going to very carefully pull this out. Okay, so that's out of the way. We'll put him out of the way. And then I just have this large band clamp that I'll undo. And I think I may go ahead and just undo that now. That goes there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and take that off. We'll unscrew him and get that out of the way. Yeah, that should be plenty loose to get that off. Gosh, I hope so. And then I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the airbox. That's just these 4 screws right here. You got one here, here, one back here, one here. I'm just going to undo these. Maybe for simplicity's sake, I'll lift him up and get this out of the way too. There we go. We'll just gently pry that loose. Oh yeah. Just coming right off. So I should be able to lift this off. Come on, give it up. There you go. So with that out of the way, this should be pretty easy. We should be able to get this elbow out now without hurting anything. I'll tell you what, That thing, it just has no give whatsoever. It is rock hard. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm tempted, because, well, it's got a hose attached. Actually, I don't think it has any hoses attached at this point. I think I'm tempted just to leave it attached to the intake when I take it off. There shouldn't be anything hanging off of it. It's just really coming off hard. I mean, I guess I could come in here and pry on her a little bit, see if she'll go. Just don't want to break it. It's just really hard. I mean, boy, it comes off hard. Really on there. That is just really on. Wow. Just seems like it would be in the way yanking this intake out. Tell you what, we'll leave it on and we'll take and see what happens. I just want to be real careful about not nicking this pipe. I really would like to get this thing off. I'll tell you what, it is fighting me. It is just, this rubber is hard. I don't want to tear it because I don't know what a new one costs. Don't want to know. See if she'll just kind of tickle her off a little bit. I think she's going. We'll just talk nice to it. Please come off. Please come off. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There we go. Mother may I. All right. There we go. And you can see why that was coming out so hard. This thing has got a huge nipple on it that it doesn't need to have a nipple that large. And it just did not want to come out. And it's trying to tear here. Now, it's not tore all the way through, so I'm not going to have any air leak problems, but I'll tell you what, there's no way you're getting that out without wrecking the part.
Go.
There's just one other thing I overlooked. I think this is I think it's a valve for the emissions control system for the fuel vapor coming out of the fuel tank, maybe, because it's got some hoses coming off of it that go up here, and it goes to some metal pipes that run down the frame and go to the rear of the car. I'm going to just crack it loose right here. I'm always careful with plasticky old stuff. I'm just going to take my pliers and just break this hose loose if I can. And I'm just going to lift up on her and get that out of the way. We'll just leave this attached to the intake. But what I am going to have to do, because it's got a hose down here that's kind of hard to get to, and I don't really want to monkey with it a whole lot, I'm going to leave this attached with the vehicle. So I'm going to take these mounts off here. It's just a 10mm socket, and I'm going to come in. There's one down here you can't see. I'm just doing it by feel, and it sticks out pretty good. I don't even need a deep socket for it, and I can crack that one loose, and these should come out pretty easy. I'm just going to take them out. They're in finger tight, and I think what I want to do is just take this out and leave it hang. I think that's the last thing hanging off of this intake. I just don't want to have any problems when I get this thing out. Yeah, it should just come right off. Yeah, piece of cake. And it's bushed in some rubber mount, so it must have some electronics in there that it doesn't want to get damaged. All right, that's just that holding that on, and I'll just grab the other one out the bottom, and she'll just come off and hang. Oh yeah, give it up, baby. Come on now, pretty please. Don't break on me. Oh yeah, nothing like that vintage plastic. Okay, and for some reason that one's just sticking in the hole. I'm just gonna leave it, but there's the mounts, and there's the hose that it's attached to. Now that this is broke loose, this would be real easy to get this off, but there's really no reason to disconnect it. I'm just gonna leave her sit there. Gonna crack these bolts loose on the plate. Also a 10mm. I'm just using a 1/2-inch drive. I don't like to expend any more effort than I have to when I'm cracking bolts loose. These coming loose really easy. Really on there. Give him a go by in a minute. That one came off. Yep. 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 I think we already did that one. We'll try this one again. Okay, that came loose. All right, good deal. And it's not even taking the stud with it. I love when that happens. Ready? Okay. Now that we have the upper intake cover off, it looks like to me the only thing that is going to have to be removed are all of these center bolts. So you have this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Over here you have this one and this one. And then if you look at these small upper ones here, these are just holding the two halves of the upper intake together. So if you look out here, if you pan out a little bit, you see all these small fasteners here, 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 here. We're not going to mess with any of those. And we're not going to mess with these three little ones inside the top here. Those don't need to come off. I'm pretty sure they don't. The only thing we're worried about are these large fasteners holding the upper intake to the lower intake. Once I undo those, I can remove this because I should have all of my hoses disconnected. There shouldn't be any connectors, anything hanging on this throttle body. This should just lift right out. And in fact, with the air cleaner assembly out, if we come down here, you can see these pipes that I've disconnected. You can see one here, right there. I'm trying to see one of the other hoses. There's one of the hoses I disconnected that goes to that metal crossover pipe that runs coolant through it. So if you look all around here, there shouldn't be anything connected to this throttle body now. There isn't anything hanging off of it that's going to keep me from removing this intake manifold, and that's what I want. Because once you have this unbolted and you're stooped over it and you got it in your hand, it's really, really frustrating when you realize you've got a connector or a hose attached to it that shouldn't be. One, because you might break something, and two, you might throw your back out before you figure it out. Okay. Those are the fasteners that had to come out. There, that one had a nut on the end of it. There's a stud on this other end here, a stud on each end, which are, I guess, would really be locating studs. And then these holes, they're all empty. And they were all the same length fasteners that came out. So I can already see that she's rocking loose. So I think the only thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to reach down in here and lift it off. And if I did my job right, I shouldn't have anything else connected to this as I lift it out. And there you go. You have a couple of options when you have to move this bracket out of the way for the rocker cover. And I'm just going to point to it right now. That's the end of the rocker cover here, right here, or the thing that holds up the wiring harness for all of the coil packs. You could go in and you could take this bracket off. It's got one bolt. It's actually got the negative ground cable on the block. It's kind of covered it too. So what I like to do is I like to take a socket. In this case, I think it's a 5/16, 3/8. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over the back of that connector for the harness. It kind of goes in like a bullet. It's got ears on it. You can never pull them out without breaking them. If you take this and slide it over it and push down on the ears, you can release the tension on it, and then it'll allow you to pull it right out. And then you can go in and just push it out, click, without breaking it. So now I have that loose without having to fool around with the bracket. It's a real simple trick. You just take the socket and put it over the bullet and mash it out. We'll We'll show you one on the other side. I've got a green one I want to show you. And cut here. This is a smaller connector, so I think I'm using a 1/4 inch fastener or 5/16, whatever it is, 1/4 inch. And I'm going to slip it right over this bullet right here to unload it. What I do is I push in on the front first. I come in and I push this over just like that, and then pull back a little. And then I can come with my fingers and push it right out. Click. And they don't get broken that way. It works really good. Okay, let's start removing the coil pack connectors. They got one little squeeze connector right there. You just grab it, lift them up right there. And one more here. Come on. Okay. Then we're going to come in and remove the coil packs. And we're going to use I think this is a T, I'm getting blinded here. This is a T40. It happens to fit in these holes. And we'll just come in and crack each one of these loose. Right down in there. Break them loose. And then those usually are finger tight. I can come in and just grab those. And these come right out. That's one of the coil packs. Twist and pull. Out she goes. This one comes out a little tight on this one. So that one's all full of oil. Lovely, which means that's been leaking for a while. Nice mess. Tell you what, we'll park him right here and let him drip for a little bit. That's not going to hurt anything. When we do get a little further into this, before I start taking the rest of these fasteners off, I'm going to set something in the holes here so we don't get the engine full of any shrapnel. It'd be a really bad thing to have this thing ingest a bolt or not. With the Million Mile Garage custom intake manifold cover installed, it's now safe to proceed. We're going to just remove this harness holder off of this bracket. It's real easy to do. I can just slip my thumb in there and release it, and they come right off, usually. There we go. Get that out of the way. And then I'm going to come in here with my ratchet, and I'm just going to, I think it's a 10 millimeter, and I'm just going to get that bracket undone. Oh my God. Oh boy. Good one. Okay. There we go. And then we just got this bracket out of the way. See this? It's hanging out of the way now. So it's not going to be a problem. We're going to move this whole bank when we take it off. And just so I can remember where this fastener goes, I'm going to put it back in the hole. Yeah, helpful tip number 3927. Anywhere where you can replace a fastener in a hole and still have it apart, really good idea. To hold the rail on that supports the connectors for the coil packs. These come out real easy. Of course, they're not too bad. Tell you what, we'll set this one here. That's flirting with disaster, I know. All right, we'll take this one off. Okay. We'll set those two there for now. I was hoping I could move these out of the way more. Oh, that's kind of hung on that a little bit. Okay, that's not bad. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, just because I can, is I'm going to stick these back in the hole, so that way they'll be around when I need them later. Okay. All right, so the next thing to do, I'm going to take the 5 fasteners out, and you see you got 2 down here, 1 here, 1 here, and then you got 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Before I do that, I'm going to take the dipstick out. With a 10mm socket attached to my 1/2-inch drive, I'm going to come in and crack these 5 fasteners loose. They should come off pretty easy. I'll come in on the bottom so I don't risk damaging any of that. They come off pretty easy. I got this one right here that might give me a bad time. I'm going to grab an extension real quick for that. Be right back. We'll come in with an extension. We'll bump this one loose. There we go. And we're just going to go in and take all 5 of these out. Yeah, that's the problem with having these machines that are built so well now. They last so much longer than they used to. We bought this van right off the truck. I don't think it'd been off the truck for an hour. We took it home. Bought it in I think Fort Pierce, Florida, 2005, 15 years ago. These little dealios here, they've got a rubber washer pressed into the or a rubber seal pressed into that dome style washer. The replacement kit comes with new ones, and they're going to need to be replaced. You can see the ones in the rear bank here were leaking pretty bad. The center one was. And so we're going to have to replace all of those before we put the machine back together. What I'm going to attempt to do is crack this rocker cover off with a putty knife. I try to use the least intrusive way first to avoid gouging or cracking anything, especially when it's cast aluminum. So I'm just going to come in on the top here and see if I can just work it in a little bit. All I want to do is just see if I can get in and break that seal. There we go. Oh, that was easy. I think that seal gave up the ghost a long time ago. Yeah, it did. So we pretty well got it broke loose. I may come down here a little bit. I may get a little help. Come down just a little farther. Okay, that's pretty well got it. I'm going to try to attempt to lift it out. And it should come out pretty easy. I'm going to come in through the top. I know these. There we go. And there we go. There's a shot. You can see how this one, look how hard that thing was. I think that thing may have actually had a problem from day one when it was new. This is rock hard, but you see how it's not pushed in all the way? And I can remember when I changed the plugs on this years ago, that center plug had just a little bit of oil on it. I thought maybe it's because the plug was loose. I'm not sure that was ever sealed. That was like that from the get-go. And this is from using the computer's sensor to tell you when to change the oil. And I always use synthetic oil, and I never went more than 7,500 miles, usually 5,000. And look at that, you still get accumulation in the rockers. I don't know if it's just because these engines run so hot, they work so hard, I don't know. And this is the cylinder deactivation version. So it runs on 3 cylinders when you're chugging down the road on the flat and level. Anything below like 70 miles an hour. Looking down inside here though, where the vapors don't tend to collect, where you have a lot of oil movement, it's pretty clean. That looks really nice. I see a little bit of deposits on the top of some of the valve spring retainers, and a little bit of deposit right here and here, but it just flakes right off. That's not even worth cleaning. It's debatable if the rocker cover is even worth cleaning. I'm tempted just to clean this up and put a new gasket in and let it go. In fact, we'll show you how the old gasket comes out. Oh yeah, rock hard. Okay, there we go. Pulling it out. It's coming out nice and clean. It's pretty hard down here, I guess, near the where the spark plug tubes are. Maybe it gets warmer. You can see where she's dried up and cracked there. It's done. But it looks like it's gonna come out in one piece. There's the old one. So I'm just going to go in and wipe this off a little bit. We're going to have to get these old spark plug tube seals out, and these are just about as hard as ceramic. So I'm sure these are going to be a real joy to come out. Here's the really goofy looking one. I bet he crumbles on me. Oh, nice. Comes out in pieces. That's going to be real fun to dig those out. All right, I got some work to do there. I'm just going in with a little fine grit paper and taking off there's just a little bit of residue from the other gasket. Probably just a tiny bit of rubber or something left behind. I just don't like to leave them real grubby. I just want to have a nice, clean surface for that new piece of rubber to adhere itself to, because you basically put them on dry. So that's it. I'm just going around with a little piece of sandpaper. Just going to dress it up a little bit, get that crud off. That's all I'm doing. Just go around, clean it up. Okay, I went ahead and cleaned it up. I know it's not concourse, but we'll call it close enough to factory. I still have to get these rock hard spark plug tube seals out. I'm going to come in with my screwdriver and catch it inside that lip, and I'm going to wrap on it with the palm of my hand. Hopefully that's enough to unseat it. It does have a metal ring underneath the rubber, and that's what gives it its press fit. So I'm going to roll this thing over. Try to set it there so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to come right in here. I'm going to catch that lip and see if I can just knock it out. And it doesn't want to go. See if I got it to move a little bit. Didn't even move at all. So let's come in here. I have to get a little more aggressive. If you look here, you can see it's moving a little bit, but it's not moving much. It's coming out hard because these things are rock hard. So I'm going to hammer on this for a little bit. I just want to show you what I'm going to go through to get it out. Cut. I got it out. And that's what it looks like out of the hole. It's a press fit. I'm just going to knock the other three out, wipe the holes out, and then I'm going to show you how I press in the new ones without destroying them. As I took, this is like a door panel removal tool. I'm coming in because this was not wanting to hammer out, and it looks like it supports on the seal. You want to be careful about not putting too much pressure here because you'll crack it, because it's just cast aluminum. And just come in and just work it out. And she's coming out. Got one spot, that's all it took, and I got it. All right, we're going to install the spark plug tube seals. I'm going to use a 1 1/4 inch socket. I'm going to use that to press the seal in. So right here, we'll start with the center one. You can see how this one hadn't sealed from the factory for a long time. That one I showed you that was creased. And so what I did is I just went with sandpaper and cleaned out all of the sealing surfaces in here, so these should slide right in. So I'm going to take this one and just center it. And they usually go in pretty, go in too bad. I'm going to take my socket, I'm going to set him on there like that. And I'm going to attempt to lever it in. Just press it in. And it's going in. Get it over here. Oh yeah. Just want to make sure it's bottomed out. It looks pretty close. We'll set it over like that so we get a little better. Looks like that's sealed in pretty good. I might knock that in just a little farther, but that's how I'm going to attempt to install the other two. There's all three of them installed. You can see how nice and soft they are. Super soft. And they're all mounted fairly flush. They're press fit, so we're not going to have any problems with leaks or anything. So I feel real good about that. On the install, I'm going to put just a little bit of motor oil on each one of these spots so that they don't curl on me or anything like what happened to that center one from the factory. That way we kind of minimize the possibility of leaks. The last step is we have to install the new grommets on the original fasteners. And because these are rock hard, like everything else was on the engine, what I have to do is cut these off because they don't really push off. So we're going to reuse the screws to remount the valve covers. I'm just getting here with a screwdriver and popping this loose. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Sometimes they come off easy. This one's going to make me work for it. There we go. And this is the shorty. I think this is the one that goes in the center hole on the top. All the rest of them are long. This is the short fastener. And of course I saved the hardest one for last to show you how to do it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut this fastener in half so I can get it off. It seems to be the only way I can get these off. They don't really want to press off. They come off really hard. So I'm just going to come in here and cut it, and then once it's split I should be able to just pull it off. And again, someone may have a better way of doing it, maybe burning them off or something, I don't know, but that's my way of doing it. I just cut it, you can see where I split it, and then it should just come right off. There we go. That's my way of doing it. And these are like super hard. It would be really hard to press it off with that little spot right there. And the bag comes with new washers. They don't look as pretty as the factory ones, which I think were some kind of chrome. They never rusted or anything, but I'm not going to bother changing them out. I'm just going to take the factory grommets, or the replacement grommets with the replacement style washers, and I'm going to push them on. Now I'm probably going to have to put them in a vise or something to get them to go on. These are fairly soft. I'm probably just going to put a little oil on them. They're beveled, and they should go over this fairly easy without tearing, but I'm probably going to have to put a little motor oil on there. I'm going to have to put them on here like this, and I'm probably going to have to take a socket and put it over it. Actually, it might be better to support it, because I want to be careful that I don't tear the new ones when I put them on. But it almost looks like I could just work these on as they are. These are pretty pliable. Oh yeah, that was easy. There we go. That's how I'll do the rest of them. No motor oil needed. But if they do go on a little tight, you might want to consider a little bit of lube. A little bit of oil is not going to hurt them. All right, we're going to put in our rocker cover gasket. It has a notch on the top and it has one on the bottom, and you just have to find the notches that line up. So we'll start here. A notch right there. Put that in right there. And we'll walk it around. That notch lines up here. Walk it around. Firmly press it in, just so you don't have it falling out on you when you're trying to put it back in the vehicle. It's going to have a tendency to grab on top of the valve train when you put it in. And the only other thing I'm going to do before I set it on, I'm going to put a little bit of motor oil on those spark plug tube seals. I'm just going to take just a little bit, dip my pinky in it. Oh yeah, that's plenty. Oh yeah, good one. We'll just take just a little bit. We'll lube these guys up so we don't have any problems with those things folding in or hanging up like what happened on that center one at the factory. All right, that's plenty lubed.
3.
There's all our grommets installed. We have 4 long fasteners, 1 short one. The short one, I believe, we'll figure it out when we put it in the vehicle, but I'm pretty sure the short one goes in the center on the top there, but we'll figure it out when we put it in. I went and stuck a towel down into the spark plug tube in hopes of soaking up some of that motor oil that probably had filled it up, but maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Okay, let's see if we can get it set in without screwing it up. I'm just going to grab this wiring harness and pull it out of the way. I'm going to come in real gentle and drag it along, being real careful not to catch that seal on anything. And then what I have to do is I have to line up on these spark plug tubes over here, one at a time, and I'm doing it. Coming around over here, over my shoulder, you can see where they're lined up. This might be a little dark here, but you can see these press on. You see my finger here? Can you see down in there in that tube? You might want to come over my shoulder. Can you see those tubes? And you can feel them. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. And they're just going to slide right on. They're going to go over. You can feel them push on. They're lined up pretty good. Oh yeah, it feels good. Yeah, those are going to seal. Good deal.
Go.
I'm going to take the short one first and stick it in the hole. That's going to keep it lined up. I'm going to come in and bring it down a little bit so I know it's lined up. I don't want to go too tight because it'll make it tough to get the other fasteners in. And then just coming around, I'll take all the long ones and they should go right down the holes and line up. There's one there. Here. Yep, everything's lining up good. Get it threaded in. Yep, that started. You got the two lower ones here. They're gonna go down in here. You do have a bit of a reach to get through that hole to get down to the holes in the head. Just be careful not to cross thread them. There we go. That's in real good. This one's going to come back on. Yep, he's going in just fine. Okay, we just want to make sure that they're lining up on the holes the way we want them. It looks like they are. It's okay to lift up just a little bit. Get it in the hole the way you want it. We'll come in and snug these up a little bit. Pull this out of the way. There we go. We got that one going. We'll come in and grab this one real quick. I don't think I got this one in all the way. Nope. Always one that's a fight. There we go. Okay. You want to try to push up on the rocker just a little bit and get each one of those grommets lined up on the holes so you know you're going to get a good positive seal. Also keeping an eye on these spark plug tubes as you do it, making sure none of those are pinched. So I'm looking down in here and I can see those are sealing up perfectly around the tubes, which is what I wanted. We'll just come in. You notice I'm using a smaller wrench putting these back together because the one thing I'm going to do is snug these up. We'll do the bottom one here. We'll hit this top one again. And just kind of work my way around. Yeah, that's snugging up real nice. We'll do this bottom one now. I didn't even bother looking up the torque setting on this. I'm just going to put these down good and snug. They don't have to be on with Gorilla Force. You just want to compress that large O-ring gasket. And you want to have all 5 of these rubber washers compressed really well so you don't get any seepage. Those feel pretty snug. I'm just going to go around, just walk them around just a little more. Yep, these are sealing up nice. Good and snug. Oh yeah, that feels good. Yep, good and snug. That's what we want. So that thing is pulled down good and tight. I'm looking around. You can see everything looks like it pulled in real nice. I don't see any gasket poking out that shouldn't be. I'm looking down into the spark plug tubes. I can see these pulled in really nice. That's exactly what I wanted. I don't have anything that's pinched or poking out where it shouldn't be, so I know I got those sealed up tight. So one thing left to do is I'll have to do the other rocker, and then it'll just be reverse order to put it back together. We're almost there. Okay, with the other rocker cover and hardware installed, we need to move to the rear one. And there's just a couple of things I'm going to show that I'm going to try to remove before I get this rocker cover off. I'm going to remove this connector here. I've got this little fastener right here on this plastic ear that's going to have to come off. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to remove this ground strap right here. And there's another ear, a plastic ear. I don't know if I can show it back here. Oh, I sure can. How about that? It's right there. We're going to take that off. And I think those are the only two fasteners that hold this big harness on up here. And I should be able to move that out of the way enough to get the rocker off. Now, I'm going to have to be working blind on this because it's got, obviously it's got a bank of these 3 coil packs on the rear, which you can't see very easily. I can probably come in back here and kind of drop down in here a little bit. I'm not sure what I'm showing you. It's probably pretty dark, but that's where I have to go back in there to get all that stuff off. So it's not really a whole lot I can show you while I'm doing it, but we'll show you the aftermath.
In addition to the wiring harness bolt shown, there's also a power steering hose bracket bolt that needs to be removed, also a 10mm.
There's one small bracket I might come in and try to disconnect unless I can get back there and pull the little plastic connector off. I'm going to pan in and show you where it is.
Look for the release tab on this harness retainer that's similar to the one used near the front rocker cover.
Alright, there's just a quick shot of me breaking one of these fasteners loose that holds the coil packs on. I've already got it loose. I'm just coming in here with my fingers and pulling it off. Got it. And here comes the coil pack. I've already pulled the connector off. So yes, you can change the spark plugs on these with the intake manifold on. There it is.
Go.
Okay. I'll just show you one more thing. Just going in blind, grabbing the screw that holds the coil pack on, and then it just comes right out. Loosening up the rocker cover bolts on the Firewall side, I'm using a large extension. I'm using a 1/2-inch drive, and I'm getting into the heater hose a little bit. So I'm just going to lean into that heater hose just a little. It shouldn't hurt anything, and this should just crack loose. Yep, and there it goes. Got that one, and you got one more. There's only 2 on the bottom. You see where I grabbed this one? I'm just coming in blind. Got it. And these will just screw right out. So we don't need fast motion on this one. And out it comes. Wow. This one, the washer is actually stuck into the rocker cover. Oh, there we go. Got it.
Oh.
All right, getting our valve cover fasteners out. So that should be all of them. I have all 5 of them out. When I was loosening this up, it kind of fell off on its own. I'm just going to attempt to just pry it up. It should just kind of come up on its own. It's in here pretty good. I'm going to try grabbing it from the bottom. It just does not want to go. I'll grab it up here by this fitting. It's got it. It's close. Boy, easier said than done. Okay, this gave me a bad time, and I'm just getting it out. I kind of had to spin it around as I got it out. This one has a different shape than the other rocker cover. So it's got a huge lip right here, and it catches way down in here on the valve train cover here. So it comes out hard. What I had to do was take zip ties and zip tie this harness out of the way. That's the only way I could get it done. And I think what I'm going to do while I have the rocker cover out of the way, I might see if there's some way I can just kind of lift that up just a little higher, because when I get this new gasket in here, I don't want to nick it going over all of that stuff, because I'm going to have to come in at an angle like this, lift this up, push it over, and then walk it around as I go down. This is not going to be an easy one to do. Getting ready to set it in. We got our gasket on. We're going to have to be really careful setting this in because it came out really hard and it's going to go back in really hard. I'm going to have to say this last leg of our visit or trip has not been very pleasant. So coming in here, I'm going to come in. You can see where I took plastic ties and zip tied this harness out of the way best I could. And that's going to give me my best shot at sliding this in. And I'm going to have to kind of come in here high at an angle. I'm going to try to protect the seal with my fingers as I go in over it. But I tell you what, it really goes in hard. Oh boy. The angle of attack, that's going to work. If you fan in right there, you can see how I'm basically straddling the cylinder head with all those little nipples and everything poking out. With this new gasket on, it's hanging down about 1/8 of an inch lower than the worn out one did. So I have to be really, really careful about not scraping it on any of these bolts or anything and cutting it, which is going to cause a leak later. So what I'm going to do now that I got it like this is I'm going to try to walk it around, which it should let me do that. Yep, and that's what's going to get it in. Now I can walk it around just like that, come back up. Yep. Now I got the real fun part, is I'm going to have to line it up with these spark plug tube bosses blind. That's going to be fun. And this probably wouldn't be as complicated if this wasn't the cylinder deactivation model. This is the EX-L. So if you're wondering why this rocker cover might be a little different than yours on the back one, it's because you might have the one that doesn't have the cylinder deactivation engine. So coming in here, I'm trying to feel these tubes as I set it down in place, and it's giving me a bad time. Actually, running my fingers all the way around them. Knowing how tough this one was going to be, I made sure I put plenty of oil on the spark plug tubes themselves, so everything was floating in oil. And I'm running my finger around the inside of each one of these tubes, because you can feel if the seal bulges out, if it catches on the edge of it. And it feels like I got it. Oh, nope, I got one sticking out. So I'm going to have to lift back up and try to manipulate it over it. Oh yeah. Yep, okay. Got that one. Let's make sure I didn't unseat any of the other ones when I did that. Yep, there's always at least one that wants to catch and swell up like that one you saw, the front valve cover, the factory one. That's sitting nice and level. I feel pretty good about that. The other thing I'm gonna do, I'm probably gonna take my iPhone and take some pictures inside those tubes before I put the bolts in and snug it up. Then I'll know if I got those spark plug tubes sealed up properly. Yep. I got the digital engine inspection meter 3000 out, and I'm just going around the inside of these spark plug tubes. And what you're seeing there, that's the edge of the spark plug tube, and you can see the rubber seal going around it. So the goal is to see only shiny around that edge where the rubber meets the spark plug tube. If it's hanging over it, you know it's pinched. Over there it looks a little weird, but that's just oil oozing out. I put a lot of oil on it. So you can see shiny all the way around. So I know that one is seated the way I want it. There's a nice shot of it there. That's what a good one looks like. I don't know how good it'll let me go around. I have to keep changing the angle of attack on it. But anyway, there's a shot of it. That's what a good seal looks like, and it'll look like that all the way around. I'm having a hard time having this filmed and do this at the same time. Here's one that's screwed up. So you see how it's shiny around the edge there, and then you come over here and the rubber's hanging over it? I'm gonna have to go in and lift this rocker cover up and get that seated in. That's the same kind of screw up there that the factory did on the front one. We don't want to have that problem. All right, we got the spark plug tube seals centered. We got the rocker cover on. I've got my 3 short rocker cover bolts. Those are going to go on the top. I'm just going to stick those in now. Those are already lining up really good. As you can see, I already cut the ties on this. It made it easier for me to get in, to get access to the spark plug tubes. This was actually in the way when it was lifted up. So just want to get this one started in here. Of course, it's going to give me a bad time now that we're rolling. There we go. Okay, that one's in. And then I just got to take these 2 longs and stick them back here, doing it blind. There's one. Okay, that's threaded in, and I got one more just on the other side. See if I can do this without dropping it. Oh, I love when that happens. It's a little touchy-feely here. Sometimes it's a little hard to get them to line up because it's not really sleeved. You're just going through there and you're just looking for the hole in the head. Okay, I got that. So the only thing I have left to do is snug these up. Almost there. Sitting in our new 3-layer gasket. Getting ready to set this back in the car. I was just going to show you what I did. Here's that coolant hose that I disconnected down below. It ties into this pipe right here, and this is the pipe that I couldn't get out of this badly dry rotted elbow. In fact, if you look at the elbow, you can see where she's split. I don't know if you can get that in right there. There's a split right there that goes all the way underneath the band clamp. So she did open up on me when I took it off, but not enough that when I tighten the clamp down, it's probably going to be tight enough. But I don't want to have to remove this again. So coming over here, there's the other hose that's going to attach to the bottom of the throttle body, that one right there. And then here's the hose that's going to attach to the top of that coolant hose that's attached to the pipe right here, is right here. That thing right there. All right, we're going to set her in. I'm just going to install our 9 fasteners. Okay, what I did is I numbered the retorquing sequence. So you've got 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 2 over there. I think I missed 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I wrote down the torque, 16 foot-pounds. And I'm just going to go on, and I'm just going to the first little bit, I'm just going to go in and just snug these down. And I'll get the torque wrench out in a moment, but I just want to just get these snugged. 5, 6. Again, I'm just going in and just snugging them down. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll go back to 1 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There, it clicked right then. Do this until it clicks. Click. 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 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's approximately 16 foot-pounds. All right, if you've got a J35A6 engine, your top cover doesn't look like this. This one's got the butterfly valve in it. This is the J35A7 engine, and it uses an O-ring. Okay. All right, I'm just going to torque these down. I'm going to use a semi-crisscross pattern. I'm sure they have a torque pattern for this, but I really don't think it's that critical. Over here, this one, that one, that one, that one, that one. There we go. Okay, we're just attaching all the little peripherals that we took off before that we showed you. There's that little emissions control device. I'm going to put this on here. We're going to reconnect our hose. We're going to come over here, reconnect this hose. I'm not going to show you putting the clamps back on. We have to reconnect this hose. Before we put this hose in the back here, I'm going to grab this one water pipe hose here. We're going to push him back over. I'm sure it'll go on real easy. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and support it here so I don't tear what's left of my air cleaner elbow. There we go. That's snapped in place. Okay, just going over it real quick before we start it. Just gonna pan in here real quick, show you all the things you want to check that you make sure that you got in. So we've got our throttle position connector on. We've got our emissions control connector on, whatever that does. This connector here that we disconnected to get to this pipe's connected. All of these awful hoses down here are reconnected. And just based on my experience on this is a 2005 Odyssey, so it's 15 years old as of today. So this elbow was rock hard, and I don't care what you did, how you position this clip. If you pan in right here, you can see the elbow was starting to crack. It hasn't cracked all the way through, but there's no way that this pipe was going to come out without ripping this off. So I did look up the price on these online. They're about $18 for another Chinese knockoff. But if you're trying to knock this job out before taking a trip, or you don't have the part ordered, obviously I don't think you're going to find it at the local auto parts store if you need it. This will definitely put a hamper on your plans if you destroyed that elbow. So that being said, I'm going to spare you all the other stuff putting it back together, but here it is complete, and then the last thing you have to do is just see if it's going to start and run like it did before. I love when that happens. So if you enjoyed the video, hit like and subscribe. We've got a lot more how-to and maybe how not to videos coming up. Thanks for watching.